like to now call on the representative from Israel to take the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I wish to begin by thanking the United States mission and Ambassador Thomas-Greenfield for making today's meeting a reality. I also want to thank all of our fellow co-sponsors for joining this important initiative. And I wish to extend my gratitude to Professor Ruth Halperin Kadari for briefing us today. I would also like to thank the family members of the hostages who have shared their moving personal stories. Ayelet, Shoshan, Gili, thank you for your strength and determination. You are inspirations to us all. Colleagues, for Israel and the Jewish people, there is no value more sacred than the sanctity of life. And it is in our DNA to take every possible step to protect and defend life. From the day Hamas terrorists invaded Israel and took over 200 innocent hostages, the entire country has taken to the streets, committed to bringing our brothers and sisters home. Each hostage has a family, friends, and a whole universe. You heard Shoshan, you heard Ayelet, you heard Gili. Every single day for them is an eternity. Every minute, a lifetime. But the Israeli people share more than just citizenship. We are a family. The entire country is in agony, knowing nothing about the state of the hostages, whether they are even alive. Israel is in trauma, an entire state in unimaginable pain. But in the face of this tragedy, our hostages have been held in Gaza for 223 days. And this is the first meeting being held by any UN body to focus on their suffering and ways to release them. In the past 32 weeks, since October 7th, the Security Council and the UN have done practically nothing to secure the release of the hostages. It is heartbreaking and amoral. Our hostages are enduring beatings, torture, and rape. Those in need of medication are being deprived. Those suffering from mental illness are languishing. Israel has done everything possible to get medication to the hostages in need, through the Red Cross and through other mediators, but to this day, there has not even been any confirmation that they reached the hostages. Not a word. It's important, really important, to issue calls to release the hostages. I'm not cynical, but I ask you honestly, do you think this has any real impact on Hamas? Honestly. Was it enough for you to merely call for Israel to increase humanitarian aid to Gaza? The hostages are the most urgent and critical humanitarian issue that the Council must focus on. The reason the war started was not because of the humanitarian situation in Gaza. There was a ceasefire on October 6th. The reason this war started was because Hamas took our loved ones hostage and refused to release them. Kidnapping the hostage is why this war began, and the hostages are why this war continues. If the Council truly wants this war to end, then bringing the hostages home should be the top priority. How do you think the Israeli people feel when they see the dozens of UN meetings held only on the humanitarian situation in Gaza, and not even one meeting, formal meeting, dedicated to securing the release of the hostages? You appointed a senior UN coordinator for Gaza, Sigrid Kach. You adopted practical resolutions on humanitarian aid, and you are monitoring their implementation. You established verification mechanisms. You even traveled to Rafah to see aid distribution firsthand. But what have you done for our hostages? Words are not enough. International pressure may have an impact on Hamas, but what pressure have you applied on the terrorists? Look in the eyes of Shoshan, Ayelet, Gili, give them answers. Has the Council condemned Hamas and demanded they permit the Red Cross to check on the hostages? Have you imposed sanctions on Hamas leadership until they release the hostages? What actions have been taken? Colleagues, until today, the inaction of the UN has been outrageous, but its true effect will be felt in the years to come. It has become clear to all that taking innocent hostages as a weapon in the hands of terrorists bears no consequences. This inaction may lead to a catastrophic precedent that will incentivize rogue entities to kidnap civilians. This will not be the first time that Palestinian terrorists inspire other terror groups. Planned hijackings were first carried out by Palestinian terrorists and then became a global phenomenon. The same can be said of the targeting of nightclubs and revelers. They were first carried out against Israelis by Palestinians before being adopted by other terrorists. We all remember the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando, the Reina massacre in Istanbul, the attack at the Bataclan theater in Paris, and lately the attack against Crocus City Hall in Moscow, among many others. Taking civilians hostage is now being tested on Israelis, but soon it will be the modus operandi of terrorists everywhere. Kfir Bibas was taken hostage at 9 months. His brother Ariel was taken at 4 years old. Shlomo Mansour, an 86-year-old, was dragged to Gaza. They are still there, all of them. Take a moment to think about this. It's truly unfathomable. Babies and grandparents are rotting in terror tunnels. How can you call for a ceasefire before you've done everything possible to bring the innocents home? Colleagues, it is our duty to shatter this dangerous precedent, to prove to all terrorists that there are consequences to their crimes, and such steps must be taken today. Hamas can be designated as a terror organization. Formal weekly meetings should be held focused on ensuring the release of the hostages. Resolutions can be passed condemning Hamas and demanding that the International Red Cross visit those in captivity. The Security Council passed Resolution 2474 mandating that all nations share the responsibility to return missing persons in armed conflict. The Council should abide by its own resolution and take steps to implement it. There is no humanitarian issue more severe. Please enforce your own words and take action against Hamas leadership and those who aid them. If the spotlight is finally shined on the suffering of the hostages, if concrete action is taken, then a clear message will be sent to terrorists worldwide. Taking civilian hostage will never be tolerated. Colleagues, think about what your countries would do if 132 of your citizens were being held hostage by terrorists. What measures would you take? The pressure on Hamas must come from you, not only from Israel, from the Security Council, because as long as Hamas knows that the international community is only pressuring Israel, this will only embolden them. I urge you to uphold your mandate. Make the hostages your prime focus. Take concrete action against Hamas and stand in support of Israel as we defend our future. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Dejobnik signing off.